All right, let's dive into this. Testosterone, right? It's kind of a big deal. And today we're going deep on how it works, why it matters, and how to naturally boost it. We're using Tucker Max's book, How to Naturally Increase Testosterone, as our guide. And we'll be pulling out the best bits, personal stories, scientific studies, even practical advice on food and exercise.
It's a topic that's full of misinformation, so this deep dive is definitely needed.
That's exactly what Max found too.
Hmm.
The book really lays out how he went through this whole thing where his testosterone just tanked, and then all the advice he got. Well, most of it was misleading, especially with people trying to, sell him stuff.
Yeah.
So what I really liked was that he just cuts through all that and focuses on the basics. No quick fixes, no magic pills.
Right.
It's all about the stuff that really matters.
Mm.
What you eat, how you move, your sleep, even your thoughts and sex life.
It's interesting how he connects all those different parts of life back to your hormones. It's not just about one thing. It's about creating the right environment for your body to thrive.
Totally. So let's start with diet. What does Max say is the best way to eat for healthy testosterone?
Well, he really goes after that high-fiber, low-fat diet that's been pushed for so long, especially how bad it can be for men. He makes the point that the food you eat literally builds your hormones, like testosterone.
I always hear that fat is the enemy, though, especially if you're trying to be healthy. Is he saying we should be eating more fat?
He is. And not just any fat. He's really specific about animal fats. He even brings up research showing that diets with, over 40% of calories from fat, especially saturated fat from animals, actually lead to higher testosterone compared to low-fat diets.
Whoa, hold on. This is getting really interesting. I need to hear more about this.
Yeah, one thing that really stuck with me was this comparison he makes between humans and tigers. He says, imagine a tiger trying to survive on a vegetarian diet. It would die. Humans aren't so different. We suffer when we eat things that our bodies aren't really meant for.
So, we're running on the wrong fuel.
That's a great way to put it. Max is all about getting back to a more natural way of eating. Whole foods, unprocessed, the stuff our bodies are designed to handle.
Okay, I'm with you so far. But what does that look like on a plate? What specific foods does he recommend?
Well, a lot of vegetables, especially green ones, good starches like sweet potatoes, beans, and of course, plenty of animal protein and fat.
Oh.
He even gets into the specifics, talking about how good coconut oil and butter are for testosterone.
Wait, hold up. Did you say butter? I thought that was like a heart attack waiting to happen.
That's another myth he tackles head on. Butter, with its saturated fat, can actually be good for your testosterone. There's research on that. And then there's coconut oil. He talks about studies where rats that ate coconut oil every day had less stress in their testes and way higher testosterone than the rats who didn't.
Wow, okay, so butter isn't the bad guy after all.
Hmm.
But how do we put all this together? What's an actual diet plan we can follow?
Well, he talks about 3 different approaches, each one kind of building on the one before. He starts with what he calls the slow-carb diet, which he says is the easiest and probably works best for most people. He even says it gives you 80% of the results of the paleo diet, but with way less effort.
Okay, I'm liking the sound of that. Less effort, more results, sign me up. So tell me more about this slow-carb diet.
It's basically a few simple rules. No white carbs, sticking to the same meals over and over, ditching drinks with calories, no fruit except for, wait for it, cheat day.
Hold on, a cheat day? That doesn't sound too terrible.
It's genius, actually. It works both on your mind and your body. On a mental level, you have something to look forward to, a break from the rules. But for your body, that sudden burst of calories keeps your metabolism from slowing down, which helps you succeed in the long run.
So if we limit those specific carbs and then have a planned cheat day, we can kind of trick our bodies into making more testosterone.
Yep, that's the idea. And Max even modified his cheat day to cut out gluten, and he found that worked even better for him.
So even with the cheat day, you can customize it. What about those other diets he talks about?
Right, so he also mentions paleo and the ancestral health diet. These are kind of like next steps after slow carb. Paleo is all about mimicking what our ancestors ate, back before farming. Meat, fish, veggies, fruits, nuts, but no grains, legumes, or dairy.
Yeah.
And then the ancestral health diet takes it even further. It's not just what you eat, but where it comes from, how it's prepared. Think grass-fed beef, seasonal produce, that kind of thing.
So it's like a journey of figuring out what works best for your body. Now, we've covered the food part, but what about exercise? How does that factor into the whole testosterone thing?
Well, Max is a big believer in strength training, but he's not just talking about aesthetics, just looking good. He's talking about building real functional strength. the kind that lets you lift heavy things, move stuff around, and just feel capable.
Like a real-life superhero. But seriously,
Yeah.
why is strength so important for testosterone?
It's like our bodies are wired to reward strength with hormones. It's a primal signal that says, hey, this guy can handle himself. He even mentioned studies from the British Medical Journal linking muscle strength to living longer.
Wow, so it's not just vanity, it's about living longer and feeling more alive. I'm sold. But how do we actually do that? What are the key principles for a good strength workout, according to Max?
He keeps it simple. 4 main things. Lift heavy, lift fast, focus on compound movements, and skip the cardio.
Wait, what? No cardio? That goes against everything I've ever heard.
Right, but he makes the case that for testosterone, cardio isn't just ineffective, it can actually work against you. He even calls it like a waste of time for your overall health.
Okay, that's a bold statement. So ditch the treadmill and hit the weights.
Pretty much. He actually lays out 4 different strength training programs, so you can choose based on, what you have available and how much time you have.
All right, I'm ready to pump some iron. Tell me about these programs.
Okay, so he starts with body weight exercises, which are perfect if you don't have a gym or are short on time.
That works for me, always on the go. What does a body weight routine look like?
Simple. Sprints and push-ups 3-4 times a week. And as you get stronger, you can increase the distance of your sprints, how many push-ups you do or how many sets.
Sprints and push-ups, got it. What else does he recommend?
Kettlebells. Max loves them because they're so versatile, effective, and they don't take up a lot of space. Plus, they're pretty cheap.
You mean those cannonball-looking things with a handle?
Yep, those are the ones. And believe it or not, he says you can get amazing results with just one exercise. The 2-armed kettlebell swing.
Seriously, just one exercise?
It's all about intensity and doing it right. He says to aim for 100 reps, breaking it up into sets if you need to.
Got it. Swing that kettlebell for all it's worth. What about choosing the right weight?
He says most guys should start with a kettlebell around 30-35 pounds. But it's important to try out different weights before you buy one to find what feels right for you. And he even suggests combining bodyweight exercises with the kettlebell swings for a really good workout.
Okay, that sounds like a recipe for some serious strength gains. What about the other 2 programs?
So he also talks about basic strength training at a regular gym. This is all about those compound movements like squats, deadlifts, overhead presses, and bench presses.
Ah, the classic power lifts.
Exactly. He even gives you a specific schedule telling you how many sets, reps, and how long to rest.
That takes out all the guesswork. And the last one.
CrossFit, or other high-intensity interval training, HIIT programs. He likes it because it combines the best of HIIT and strength training, plus you get the community aspect and expert coaching.
Yeah, CrossFit is known for being intense.
It is, but that's part of what makes it so effective.
Right.
And Max actually met his girlfriend through CrossFit, so there are social benefits too.
So boosting testosterone can also lead to a better love life. All right, we've tackled diet and exercise, but what about sleep? I'm guessing Max has something to say about that too.
Absolutely. He's really big on sleep because, get this, almost all of your testosterone is made while you're asleep.
So like a good night's rest is a testosterone factory.
You could say that. And on the flip side, if you don't get enough sleep, your testosterone production takes a nosedive.
Okay, I'm convinced. How much sleep should we be aiming for?
He recommends 8 to 9 hours a night for peak testosterone production. And he doesn't just stop there. He actually gives you a whole plan for getting that good quality sleep.
I'm all ears. Let's talk sleep strategies.
Okay, so one of the most important things is to sync up your sleep with your natural rhythm. Like going to bed when the sun sets and waking up with the sunrise.
Yeah, I wish. That's not really doable for most of us. What's a more realistic approach?
Having a consistent bedtime, even on the weekends. Try to go to bed and wake up around the same time to keep your body's natural sleep-wake cycle in check.
Okay, that makes sense. What else can we do to create the perfect sleep environment?
Temperature is key. Most people sleep best between 65 and 70 degrees.
All right, time to turn down the thermostat.
He also says to make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and free of distractions. Like your phone or TV. You want your brain to link your bed with sleep, not with stimulation.
No more scrolling through social media in bed. Got it. What about food and drinks? Any advice there?
He says to cut back on caffeine after 4 p.m. and limit yourself to 1 or 2 alcoholic drinks, finishing your last one at least 2 hours before bed.
Yeah, alcohol might knock you out at first, but then it messes with your sleep later on. What about eating before bed?
He says not to eat too much right before you hit the sack. It makes it harder to fall asleep.
Makes sense. A full stomach is not conducive to a peaceful slumber.
Yeah.
What about those nights where you just can't seem to turn off your brain? Any solutions for insomnia?
Oh, yeah. He has this really interesting perspective on that. He believes that most insomnia, besides actual sleep disorders, comes from anxiety that we haven't dealt with.
So the things we try to avoid during the day end up haunting us at night.
Exactly. He says it's better to face those anxieties head on instead of trying to bury them.
A clear mind equals peaceful sleep. Any other unique sleep tips he offers?
Get this cheese and honey.
Cheese and honey. I've never heard of that. How does that even work?
The science behind it is still a bit murky, but Max and a lot of other people have found it really works for falling asleep fast, and there's even a bit of research to back it up.
Okay, I've got to try that. Anything else on the sleep front?
Yeah, he has this powerful way of putting it. He says almost every living thing needs sleep, or it dies. It's that important. He's all about prioritizing sleep and making sure you get enough.
Wow, that really puts things into perspective. Now, we've covered diet, exercise, sleep, but Max also talks about testing and measuring when it comes to testosterone. What's that all about?
Oh, yeah. He's a big advocate for getting regular blood tests to track your testosterone levels and your overall health. He thinks having that data is key to understanding your hormone levels, seeing if you're deficient in anything, and tracking your progress over time.
So it's not just about how you feel. It's about getting the hard facts. How often should we be getting our blood tested?
He suggests getting a baseline test first, and then retesting every few months to see how you're doing. He even gives you other options for getting blood work done, besides going to the doctor, which can be cheaper and easier.
That's awesome. More options are always a good thing. What specific things should we be looking for in our blood work?
He highlights a few key things: total testosterone, free testosterone, HDL cholesterol, VLDL cholesterol, and triglycerides.
Sounds like a lot to keep track of.
It can be, but he explains what each one means and what the healthy ranges are.
Okay, so we've got our blood work sorted. What about tracking other things, like weight and strength?
Right. He encourages taking pictures of yourself to see how your weight and body fat are changing, or using a smart scale if you prefer that. And for strength, just keep track of how you're doing in whatever program you're following. Are you lifting heavier weights, doing more reps, seeing improvements?
So it's about setting goals and celebrating those small wins along the way.
Totally. Progress is a great motivator. Speaking of progress, Max also gets into some more advanced techniques for people who want to take their testosterone optimization to the next level.
Okay, I'm all for that. What are some of these advanced techniques?
Well, one interesting thing he talks about is micronutrient testing and specialized supplements.
Micronutrient testing, what's that all about?
Basically, it's a blood test that looks at the levels of certain vitamins and minerals in your body, giving you a super detailed picture of your nutrition.
Like a nutrition report card.
Exactly. And this can help pinpoint any deficiencies that might be messing with your testosterone production.
Makes sense. What about the specialized supplements?
So Max actually used micronutrient testing himself, and it turned out he was low in B12 and magnesium, both important for testosterone.
But wasn't he already eating a healthy diet?
He was. It just shows that sometimes, even when we're eating well, we can still be missing some key nutrients.
So those supplements can help fill in those gaps.
That's the idea. Based on his test results, he started taking ZMA and desiccated liver pills and noticed improvements right away, both in how he felt and his testosterone levels.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is. But he's also careful to point out that supplements should be like an extra boost, not a replacement for a healthy diet and lifestyle.
Got it. Supplements should supplement, not substitute. What other advanced techniques does he talk about?
He mentioned something called megadosing certain vitamins.
Megadose. That sounds kind of extreme.
It can be, which is why he stresses that you should only do this with a doctor's supervision, not on your own.
Safety first. What else is there?
Intermittent fasting, or IF.
Oh yeah, that's the eating pattern everyone's talking about. How does that tie into testosterone?
So, with IF, you cycle between eating and fasting. The common way to do it is the 168 method, where you fast for 16 hours and then have an 8-hour window to eat. And there's some really cool research suggesting that IF can actually increase testosterone levels.
Seriously, how does that work?
Well, one study found that fasting overnight, kind of like what you do in IF, boosted testosterone by a whopping 180% in men who were obese.
180%. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Are there other studies that show this IF testosterone connection?
Yep. Another study found that rats on an IF schedule had higher testosterone than rats on a normal high-fat, high-glucose diet, even a calorie-restricted diet.
Wow, so IF might be good for more than just weight loss.
It seems that way. It's
Yeah.
an area that needs more research, but the initial findings are promising.
Okay, I'm adding IF to my list of things to learn more about. But before we dive too deep into that, let's get back to those other topics Max brings up, like cold showers and xenoestrogens.
Those are definitely interesting.
All right, so cold showers, what's the deal with those? Do they really boost testosterone?
Honestly, the research on that direct link is still pretty thin.
But there are all those stories people tell and some cool theories, right?
Right. Some people swear by them, saying cold showers give them this energy boost and make them feel more alert, which could indirectly be tied to higher testosterone. And then there's this idea of hormesis, which basically means that exposing your body to a little bit of stress, like a cold shower, can actually make it stronger.
So like a shock to the system that wakes it up.
Exactly. And some people even think cold showers could help build muscle and burn fat, both good things for testosterone.
Interesting. I'm willing to give it a shot. What about xenoestrogens? What are those, and why should we care?
So xenoestrogens are chemicals in our environment that act like estrogen in our bodies.
Like fake estrogens.
Yeah.
Sneaking into our systems and messing with our hormones.
Pretty much. And that can cause testosterone to dip.
Not good. Where are these xenoestrogens hiding?
They're in a ton of everyday stuff, like cleaning products, detergents, soaps, some grooming products, and even certain plastics.
Oh man, that's kind of scary. They're everywhere. So what can we do to avoid them?
Max has some easy tips, like switching to natural grooming products, storing your food in glass or stainless steel instead of plastic, and filtering your water.
So it's all about being more aware of what we're using and what we're exposed to every day.
Exactly. Take control of your environment as much as you can and try to minimize those hormone disruptors.
Okay, I'm definitely going to pay more attention to that from now on. Now, let's get back to testosterone itself and how it affects more than just our physical bodies. Max gets into some pretty interesting stuff about the link between testosterone, sex, and competition.
He does. And he's really clear about the importance of a healthy sex life for keeping those testosterone levels up.
Yeah, he says have as much sex as you can or want. And he even debunks the myth about masturbation lowering testosterone.
Right. He talks about how sexual activity, whether with a partner or solo, can actually stimulate testosterone production.
So it's not about denying yourself pleasure, it's about embracing it. What else does he say about this?
One of the most mind-blowing things he talks about is the idea that hormones don't just drive our behavior, they can also be influenced by our behavior.
We touched on that earlier. It's such a cool concept.
It is. And Max suggests we can actually change our hormone levels by changing how we act.
So if we act more confident, more assertive, our testosterone could actually increase.
That's the idea. And he has this neat little trick for putting it into practice called the hero technique.
The hero technique. Tell me more.
It's pretty simple. Pick a hero, someone you really admire, someone whose qualities and mindset you want to embody.
That could be anyone, right? A
Yeah.
historical figure, a character from a book, or even someone you know personally.
Exactly. And then just imagine how your hero would act in different situations and try to do the same thing.
So like, if you're feeling nervous or unsure of yourself, you'd ask, what would my hero do?
Exactly. And by acting the way your hero would, you might actually shift your own hormone levels.
That's so cool. It's like mind over matter, but with hormones.
Exactly. It's about using that mind-body connection to create change.
Love it. I'm going to start channeling my inner hero more often.
Yeah.
Now, what about competition? Does Max think that can boost testosterone?
He does. He even talks about his own experience with mixed martial arts training and how it affected his testosterone.
So being competitive, whether it's in sports, work, or even just friendly games, could actually help our T levels.
The research backs that up. Competition often triggers the release of adrenaline and testosterone, both of which can make you perform better and feel more driven.
All right, time to step on my game.
Maybe so. We've covered so much in this deep dive into testosterone, from the basics of diet, exercise, and sleep to those more advanced techniques.
It's been a whirlwind. And it's really amazing how connected all these different parts of our health are.
It is. And the best part is that we have more power over our hormones and our well-being than we might think.
Absolutely. But before we move on to the next part of our testosterone deep dive, what are some key things you want to leave our listener with?
I think the most important thing to remember is that there are no quick fixes, no magic bullets for testosterone. It's all about making lasting changes to your lifestyle, changes that address those foundational pieces of your health.
Right. It's not about jumping on the latest fad or relying on some gimmicky supplement.
Exactly. It's about building a solid foundation for your health and well-being.
And of course, if you're dealing with symptoms of low testosterone, it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor, get your blood work checked, just to make sure that's really what's going on and rule out anything else.
Absolutely. Always a good idea to check with your doctor if you have any health concerns.
And once you get the all clear from your doctor, then it's time to put some of these strategies into action.
Right. It could be as simple as eating more veggies, getting more sleep, or adding some strength training to your routine.
Small changes can make a big difference over time.
Definitely. And don't be afraid to experiment and see what works best for you. It's all about figuring out what your body needs.
That's so encouraging. What's a good question for our listener to think about as we wrap up this part of the deep dive?
I think a good one is this. If you could make just one small change today, based on everything we've talked about, what would it be?
I love that. It could be something super simple like swapping soda for water, going for a 20-minute walk, or just going to bed 30 minutes earlier tonight.
Exactly. Every little bit adds up.
And remember, knowledge is power, but only if you actually use it. We'll be back with part 2 of our testosterone deep dive to dig even deeper, so stay tuned.
You know, as we go through all these strategies for boosting testosterone, it's important to remember that it's not just about building muscle or getting better at sports.
That's a great point. It's easy to focus on the physical stuff, but what about the mental and emotional effects of testosterone?
Oh yeah, testosterone plays a huge role there too. It affects everything, your mood, your energy, how well you think, even your sex drive.
It's like the hormone of feeling alive, being energized and engaged with the world.
That's a perfect way to put it. When our testosterone levels are where they should be, we feel more confident, motivated, and ready to tackle challenges.
It's incredible how one hormone can have such a big impact on our whole lives.
It really is, and that's why it's so crucial to understand how to keep those levels healthy as we age.
Because let's be honest, testosterone naturally dips as men get older. And it's not just about the physical changes.
Exactly. But the good news is we can slow down that decline and keep our testosterone healthy throughout our lives.
And that's what this deep dive is all about. By focusing on the basics, diet, exercise, sleep, managing stress, and then adding in some of those advanced strategies Max talks about, we can really take charge of our hormones.
Exactly. And hopefully experience all the amazing benefits that come with it.
Absolutely. Now, I want to go back to something you mentioned in the last part. You said that Max is really big on making sure you enjoy the process, not turning it into some kind of chore.
Oh, yeah. He even says something like, I'm basically telling you to eat bacon, sleep in, lift heavy stuff, and be happy. Who wouldn't want to do that?
Sounds pretty good to me. But seriously, how do we balance making healthy choices with actually enjoying ourselves?
I think the key is to find things you genuinely like doing, not just forcing yourself to do stuff you hate.
That makes sense. So instead of dragging yourself to the gym, maybe find a sport you enjoy or a fun dance class.
Exactly. And it's the same with food. There's so much delicious and healthy food out there. You don't have to feel like you're missing out.
And let's not forget about that cheat day on the slow-carb diet. It's like a built-in reward for being good during the week.
It's so smart, right? It works on so many levels.
Break it down for us. Why is that cheat day so important?
Well, first of all, it gives you something to look forward to mentally. It takes off the pressure of being perfect all the time, which makes it easier to stick with the plan.
Like a little reward for your efforts.
Exactly. And then on a physical level, that calorie spike actually keeps your metabolism from slowing down, which helps with weight management and hormones in the long run.
So it's not just about giving in to cravings, it's actually strategic.
Right. It's about that balance between discipline and enjoyment. And remember, Max modified his cheat days to be gluten-free and found that worked even better for him.
That's a good reminder that you can always personalize these things based on what your body needs.
Absolutely. It's all about finding what works for you.
Now let's talk about those workout routines. Max actually gives you specific programs for each type of training, right?
He does, but remember, these are just starting points. As you get stronger, you can adjust them to fit your needs and preferences.
Okay, so it's not one size fits all. For bodyweight training, we talked about sprints and push-ups. But what if someone's not exactly a runner or can't do a full push-up? Any modifications for the rest of us?
Of course. Max says you can totally adjust the distance and intensity of your sprints based on your fitness level. Start with shorter sprints or even just a brisk walk. And for push-ups, you can do knee push-ups or wall push-ups until you get stronger.
So there's an option for everyone, no matter where you're starting.
Absolutely. And with kettlebells, it's super important to use proper form.
I can imagine. Swinging those things around incorrectly could be dangerous.
Right. He gives you step-by-step instructions on how to do the two-armed kettlebell swing the right way and stresses starting with a weight you can handle safely.
Safety first. Now, for those who prefer going to the gym, Max has a structured program for basic strength training.
He does, and the focus is on those compound movements like squats, deadlifts, overhead presses, and bench presses.
So the big lifts that work multiple muscle groups.
Exactly. He even lays out a weekly schedule, switching between upper and lower body workouts.
I feel like I could actually create my own testosterone-boosting workout plan with all this info.
That's great. It's all about understanding the principles and then putting them into practice in a way that works for you. And if you're looking for a super intense and varied workout, Max is all about CrossFit.
CrossFit definitely has a reputation for being tough.
It is, but it's super effective. And remember, Max met his girlfriend through CrossFit, so there are social benefits too. Plus, you get expert coaching and that sense of community, which can be really motivating.
Yeah, having that support system can make a big difference. So boosting your testosterone might also improve your social life. All right, let's move on to sleep. Max is all about getting enough shut-eye, but that can be hard in our busy lives.
It's definitely a challenge, but he gives some practical tips for getting better sleep, even if you can't always get those full 8-9 hours.
Okay, I need all the help I can get when it comes to sleep. What are his top tips?
Consistency is key. Try to go to bed and wake up around the same time every day, even on weekends. That helps regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle.
So no more sleeping until noon on Sundays.
Probably best to avoid that if you want to optimize your sleep. He also talks about creating a really good sleep environment.
Making sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool. Right.
Yep. He even suggests things like blackout curtains or an eye mask if you need to block out light.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What about those pre-sleep rituals? Any suggestions there?
Max likes to read before bed, but he knows it doesn't work for everyone.
Right. Reading actually keeps some people awake.
Exactly. You got to find what works for you. It could be a warm bath, calming music, or even relaxation techniques.
And of course, no caffeine or alcohol too close to bedtime.
Definitely. Those can really mess up your sleep.
Okay, what about those nights where you just can't seem to fall asleep no matter what you do? Any tips for insomnia?
He has a couple of interesting ideas.
Tell me everything.
One is trying cheese and honey before bed.
Cheese and honey. That sounds weird, but good.
It is. And surprisingly effective for a lot of people, Max included. He even says it knocks him out in like 20 minutes.
Okay, I am definitely trying that tonight.
Ugh.
What's the other suggestion?
Cold showers as a last resort for insomnia.
Wait, cold showers? I thought those were for testosterone during the day.
They can be, but Max has found that a cold shower right before bed can actually help him fall asleep fast.
Interesting. So cold showers can be invigorating in the morning and sleep-inducing at night, depending on when you take them.
Exactly. And speaking of timing, let's talk supplements. There are so many testosterone boosters on the market. Does Max recommend any specific ones?
That's a great question. I'm curious to hear his take on all that.
He does recommend some, but he's really clear that supplements should just be an addition to a healthy diet, not a replacement.
Right. Supplement, don't substitute. So what are the supplements he actually recommends?
Vitamin D is a big one.
Ah, the sunshine vitamin. I've heard that's important for testosterone.
It is. He suggests getting at least 5,000 IUs per day, either from sunlight or a supplement.
Okay, I'll make sure I'm getting enough of that. What else?
Fish oil is another one.
Omega-3s. Good for your heart, your brain, and now your testosterone too.
The research seems to point that way. Max recommends around 5 grams of fish oil daily.
Okay, that's doable. Anything else on his list?
He also recommends zinc and magnesium, especially together as ZMA.
ZMA, that's a popular one, especially among athletes. What's so good about it?
Studies have shown it can improve sleep quality and maybe even boost testosterone levels.
So it's a win-win.
Sounds like it. Now, what about all those other testosterone boosters you see everywhere? The ones that promise crazy results overnight.
Yeah, there are tons of them out there making all sorts of claims. What does Max say about those?
He's pretty skeptical of most of them.
Yeah, I figured. It's easy to fall for all the marketing hype. What about specific ingredients in those supplements?
He actually names a few that he thinks are ineffective, like stinging nettle and tribulus.
Interesting. So what's his overall take on supplements for boosting testosterone?
He really believes that focusing on the basics, diet, exercise, sleep, stress management, is the most effective way to boost testosterone naturally. Supplements are just there to fill in any gaps or address specific deficiencies.
So it's about making real lifestyle changes, not looking for a quick fix.
Exactly. And if you're serious about optimizing your testosterone, he suggests looking into micronutrient testing.
Right, we talked about that earlier. It's a blood test that shows you exactly what vitamins and minerals you might be lacking.
That's it. It basically gives you a personalized supplementation plan based on your individual needs.
Like a roadmap for better health.
Exactly. And Max even shares his own experience with micronutrient testing. Remember how it showed he was low in B12 and magnesium, even though he was eating healthy?
Yeah. It's crazy how you can be doing everything right and still be missing some essential nutrients.
It happens. And once he started taking those specific supplements, his testosterone levels improved.
It just goes to show that testing and personalized approaches can be really powerful. Now, what about megadosing vitamins? That's another advanced technique Max talks about, right?
He does, but he's very cautious about it.
Yeah, megadosing sounds kind of risky to me.
It can be, which is why Max is really clear that it should only be done with the help of a doctor. Definitely not something to try on your own.
Right. Even though vitamins are good for you, taking too much can be harmful.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance and working with a professional.
Now, one last thing I want to touch on is intermittent fasting, or IF. It's getting super popular, and for good reason.
Yeah, it's a hot topic right now.
And for good reason. It seems to help with weight loss, blood sugar control, even brain health. But what about testosterone? Does IF have any effect there?
There's some research suggesting that IF might boost testosterone levels too.
Really? How does that work?
Well, one study found that fasting overnight, which is kind of like what you do with IF, increased testosterone by as much as 180% in a group of men who were obese.
Wow. That's a huge increase. Are there any other studies that back that up?
Yep. Another study found that rats who were on an IF schedule had higher testosterone than rats who were fed a normal, high-fat, high-sugar diet or even a calorie-restricted diet.
Fascinating. So IF might be good for a lot more than just weight loss.
It seems that way. It's definitely an area that needs more research, but those initial findings are pretty exciting.
Okay, IF is officially on my list to learn more about. But let's get back to those other interesting topics Max brings up: cold showers and xenoestrogens.
Those are definitely worth discussing.
All right, cold showers. What's the verdict? Do they really increase testosterone?
The research on that direct link is still pretty limited.
But there are all those anecdotal reports and some interesting theories, right?
Definitely. Some people say cold showers give them more energy and make them feel more alert, which could be indirectly linked to testosterone. And then there's that concept of hormesis, the idea that a little bit of stress, like a cold shower, can actually make your body stronger and more resilient.
So it's like a little jolt to the system.
Exactly. And some people think cold showers could even help with muscle growth and fat loss, both of which are good for testosterone.
Interesting. I'm willing to try it out. What about xenoestrogens? What exactly are they, and why should we be concerned about them?
So xenoestrogens are basically chemicals that are all around us in our environment, and they can mimic the effects of estrogen in our bodies.
So they're like fake estrogens getting into our systems and messing with our hormonal balance.
That's it. And when that happens, testosterone levels can take a hit.
Yikes. So where are these xenoestrogens hiding?
They're in so many everyday products. Cleaning products, detergents, soaps, some grooming products, and even some types of plastics.
Oh man, it seems like they're everywhere. What can we do to avoid them?
Max suggests some easy swaps, like switching to natural grooming products, using glass or stainless steel containers for food instead of plastic, and filtering your water.
So it's about being aware of the products we're using and trying to minimize our exposure to those hormone-disrupting chemicals.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your environment as much as possible.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be more mindful of that. Now let's shift back to testosterone and its broader impact on our lives. I know Max explores some fascinating connections between testosterone, sex, and competition.
He does. He talks about how important it is to have a healthy sex life to keep your testosterone levels optimal.
Yeah, he's all about having as much sex as you can or want, and he even debunks the myth about masturbation lowering testosterone.
Exactly. He says that sexual activity, whether with a partner or solo, can actually stimulate testosterone production.
So it's not about denying yourself pleasure, it's about embracing it.
Right. And Max also brings up that really cool idea that hormones don't just cause behavior, they can also be influenced by our behavior.
We talked about that a bit earlier. It's such a mind-blowing concept.
It is. And Max believes that we can actually influence our hormone levels by making conscious changes to how we act.
So if we act more confident and assertive, our testosterone might go up.
That's the theory. And he gives this really interesting technique for doing that called the hero technique.
The hero technique. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's pretty simple, really. You pick a hero, someone you really admire, whose qualities and mindset you want to have.
So it could be anyone, right? A historical figure, a fictional character, even someone you know in real life.
Exactly. And then you just imagine how your hero would act in different situations and try to do the same thing.
So like, if I'm feeling nervous or unsure of myself, I'd ask myself, what would my hero do?
Exactly. And by acting the way your hero would, you might actually shift your hormone levels.
That's so cool. It's like the power of positive thinking, but for hormones.
You got it. It's about using that mind-body connection to create positive changes.
I love that. I'm going to start channeling my inner hero more often. Now, what about competition? Does Max think that can boost testosterone?
He does. He even talks about his own experience with mixed martial arts training and how it affected his testosterone.
So being competitive, whether it's in sports, at work, or even just playing games with friends, could actually raise our testosterone levels.
That's what the research suggests. Competition often triggers a release of adrenaline and testosterone, which can improve performance and boost your drive.
All right, time to step up my game.
Maybe so. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive on testosterone, from those foundational principles of diet, exercise, and sleep, to some more advanced techniques.
It's been quite a journey. And it's amazing how all these different aspects of our health are connected.
It really is. And the best part is that we have more control over our hormones and our well-being than we often think.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up this part of our testosterone deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways you want our listener to remember?
Well, I think the most important thing is that there are no quick fixes, no magic solutions when it comes to testosterone. It's about making those sustainable lifestyle changes that address the core aspects of your health.
Right. It's not about chasing fads or relying on gimmicky supplements.
Exactly. It's about building that solid foundation for optimal health and well-being.
And of course, if you're experiencing symptoms of low testosterone, it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor, get your blood work done to make sure that's what's going on, and rule out any other potential issues.
Yes, absolutely. Always a good idea to consult with your doctor if you have any concerns about your health.
And once you have the green light from your doctor, then it's time to start putting some of these strategies into action.
Right. Start small. It could be as simple as adding more veggies to your meals, getting a bit more sleep, or incorporating some strength training into your routine.
Small changes can really add up over time.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to experiment and find what works best for your body. It's a process of self-discovery. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
That's encouraging. What's a good question for our listener to think about as we wrap up this part of the deep dive?
A great question to ponder is this. If you could make just one small change today based on everything we've discussed, what would it be?
That's a great question. It can be something as simple as swapping sugary drinks for water, going for a quick 20-minute walk, or even just going to bed 30 minutes earlier tonight.
Exactly. Every little step counts.
And remember, knowledge is only powerful if you use it. We'll be back with part 3 of this testosterone deep dive to explore even more, so stay tuned. All right, so we've covered a ton of ground in our testosterone exploration, but there's one last thing I want to hit. It's something Max talks about that really resonated with me.
I think I know what you mean. It's that whole idea that boosting testosterone isn't just about the physical stuff, right?
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in the muscle building, the performance aspect, but it goes way beyond that.
Absolutely. Testosterone is like this key player in our overall well-being. It affects everything from our mood and energy to how well our brains work, even our sex drive.
Yeah, it's like the hormone of feeling truly alive, being energized and engaged with the world.
That's a great way to put it. When our testosterone is at a good level, we tend to feel more confident, more motivated, like we can take on anything.
And that spills over into everything we do, our relationships, our work, everything.
Exactly. It's not just about how we look or perform physically. It's about how we feel and how we show up in life.
That's a really important point, especially for guys as they get older.
For sure. We all know testosterone naturally declines as we age, but the good news is that we have more control over that process than we think.
And that's what we've been focusing on in this deep dive. By zeroing in on those foundational things, diet, exercise, sleep, managing stress, and then adding in some of those more advanced techniques from Max, we can really take control of our hormonal health.
And it's not just about physical health, right? It's mental, emotional, maybe even spiritual well-being too.
Totally. It's about creating a life full of energy and purpose.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive on testosterone, I think it's important to remember Max's main message. It's not about those quick fixes or magic pills.
Right, it's about a holistic approach, understanding how all these pieces of our lives fit together and affect our overall health.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful tools we have is knowledge. Once we understand how things like food, exercise, sleep, even our thoughts and behaviors affect our hormones, we can make smarter choices.
So it's about being in charge of our own health, basically.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. There's always more to learn.
Well, I think we've explored pretty much everything there is to know about naturally increasing testosterone. We've busted some myths, talked about a ton of strategies, and hopefully given our listener a good foundation to build on.
I agree. And if there's one last thing I want to leave our listener with, it's this. Take charge of your health. Don't wait until something goes wrong to start paying attention.